Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome to this week's Product School Talk. Thanks to everyone for joining us today. And we will teach a little bit about all kinds of things today with the beautiful Richa Rai. She's going to be our guest today. So a little bit about Product School. We teach product management, coding, data analytics, and blockchain at all of our 14 campuses worldwide. And we have an amazing guest today, as I mentioned, Richa Rai. And Richa is currently works as a senior product manager in Kaiser Permanente, enterprise and digital services team. Her job is to evaluate next big bets for the digital team at KPWA and shape the digital portfolio to keep KPWA competitive as an industry leader. Prior to this, Richa was a management consultant at Microsoft for 8 years in various strategic, product, and program management roles. She has an engineering and MBA educational background. And as one of her mentors once said earlier in her career, build and deliver an experience where customers don't have to come, rather they want to come. So this has been Richa's inspiration in all of her accomplishments thus far. I love that. She is all about breaking the barrier, challenging the status quo, and it started with her being the first woman engineer in her community. So outside of work, Richa likes to read, volunteer at her son's school as art docent, and enjoy family movie nights. So welcome, Richa. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kylie, and thank you so much, Product School, for this opportunity. I am excited to share something about my experience today with all the folks here. So with that, I will share my screen.
Wonderful. As Richa is sharing her screen, I just want to say thank you to everyone who was able to make it today. Take it away, Richa.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kylie. So thank you so much, everyone, for taking time to join me here today. As Kylie just mentioned, I am in a senior PM role at Kaiser in digital services team. Before this, I was at Microsoft in a management consultant role for a very long time, and my engineering and MBA background. So all of this really helps me beautifully in understanding the business goal of any problem, any product, what we're trying to build, and then what the technological solution should look like. And I'm excited to be here to dive into what I have to share today with you guys. So we have a tight agenda just to set the stage for this. This is the content that I generally do in a longer, in 2-hour period, but we have a very short amount of time. So, but there is a lot of topic to cover. I did not want to cut on the core content. So I'm still covering that. I will cut down on a lot of anecdotal incidents or experiences that I share along with that. And if you feel at any point of time that some content is a little bit rushed or you would like to dive deeper, I will be sharing my email address in the end so we can connect one-on-one, and I can definitely go a little bit deeper in those topics with you later as well. But I just wanted to level set that this is because of I wanted to deliver more in short amount of time. That's why I'm trying to make sure that we cruise through this and at least I'm able to share the important aspects of product management. So without further ado, let's dive into the agenda. Oh, my goodness. Okay, here it goes. So we'll be talking about the core disciplines of product management, how to bridge the gap from current role to product management, how to think about strategic goal and business success criteria, and what makes a successful product manager. Let's go for it. So what are the core disciplines of product management? The way I think about it from my experiences, there are core two key buckets, the strategic capabilities and tactical capabilities. And there are 6 core disciplines, 3 in each that I would like to highlight today. There is a long tail of a lot of other core disciplines, of other key disciplines as well, but I think this is the heart of product management. And then there are a lot in the periphery of product management. Starting with strategic capabilities and talking about ownership. So ownership is important as a product manager. You are the CEO, single owner, but shared agenda. You are the master. You are the owner who has that big picture, what that strategic alignment looks like. What are those KPIs we are going after? What are those key pain points that we should be looking at while building that product? And you are the servant. You are taking care of all the little details. Do we have right resources in place? Do we have the dependencies mapped out? Do we have the right user stories for the releases? How are we stacking those user stories? How are we prioritizing those user stories? So you are the servant and taking care of the little details. The big caveat here is you are the leader without direct authority. You have to lead this big group of people with different teams, but you do not have hiring and firing control over those people. The way you do that is you drive people using your vision, using your research, using data, using your communication skill, using your influencer skill. So you kind of bring people together and you lead them, but you are the CEO in a sense that you lead that, but you do not have any hiring and firing capacity. So you do not have any direct authority. And that's one of the very key points to understand as a product manager, the ways in which you can influence people and bring people together and be the leader without having that leader, without being that leader on the paper. So in the nutshell, keep calm and take ownership. Moving forward, the second core discipline is customer focus. Extremely important. As a product manager, we fixate ourselves in making our product successful. Rather, we should be thinking about how can we make our customer successful? What are the features or capabilities we should be putting in our in our product that will make our customer successful? So we should be thinking about or taking our customer as our North Star. What are they? Excuse me, I'm getting a call. Sorry about that. So so think about customer as a North Star, where whatever product capabilities you're thinking about, think of them, what will make them successful, and then take those product decisions. Walk customer's journey, put yourself in the shoes of your customer, walk their journey through that life cycle of the product. What are those key touch points? What are those key pain points that they will experience, or what are those experiences that they will have at those touch points? So put the hat of your customer and walk that journey along with your customer to see that what those key touch points are. And then listen what is not being said. It is where a lot of times customer also doesn't know what those hidden pain points are. So you have to get to that core. It's like peeling the onion, going layer by layer and getting to that core of what is it that's most important to your customer? What is that pain behind the pain? What is that issue behind the issue that they are addressing? Or a lot of times customer would jump to solutioning, but that's where you have to hold them back and bring them to what is that pain point that they're trying to address, because what the solution they may be thinking in their head may not be the right solution. So listening what is not being said is also one of the core competencies that a product manager needs to develop or grow over time. Communication skills, another extremely important core discipline, because you have to rally people for that common goal. There are a lot of people, a lot of teams that a product manager works with, and you have to bring all of them people together. As I said in one of my first slides, that you are the CEO without direct authority. So you are the person who do not have direct, those teams may not even be falling under your management or your leadership. How do you bring those people together? They may have different priorities. They may be after their set of important tasks, day-to-day job, the long-term goals that they have. But how do you make sure that your work, your product is highlighted or is they understand the importance of the delivery of your product in their bigger picture. So for that, you have to rally people for that common goal. You are the change agent. You are bringing people together for this common goal. So you have to understand what are those creatively, how can have your message heard? What are those research data points? What are those influencing skills that you can establish to bring those people together for that common goal, so that they understand the importance of the work that you're delivering, and they gather together in a unanimous manner to be behind that common goal and that common vision. Keep an open mind. You will be working with a lot of teams. You will be learning multiple points of views from those different teams. You have to understand, you have to keep an open mind, be agile, be open to adapt to how things evolve and change, and open your pivot based on how things are changing and evolving. So as a product manager, you also have to keep an open mind as you work through different cycles, different channels with different teams, and then are ready to absorb and pivot based on what the wind on that day is like. Resolving conflicts, because you work with so many teams and there are so many tighter dependencies, a lot of times conflicts do happen. As a product manager, you have to have that unbiased approach. It is also an opportunity for as a product manager to instill trust in people. So you have to make sure that you have that unbiased approach to those problems, to those conflicts, and you are trying to find that win-win solution. You are making sure that other party also feels heard. They feel that they are important in this bigger picture, in this scheme, in this big scheme, and then all of you guys are coming together for this common goal. So this is it's not you versus them or us. It is about that bigger picture and bigger goal, and it is important to have that mindset and resolve conflicts in finding the win-win solution. Over communication, again, another extremely important that I learned over a period of time. It is because you work with so many different teams, you work with leadership teams, you work with, depending upon how the larger the company is, the layers are so many layers to work through. Even in smaller companies, the tighter communication is important, not only to understand what is being delivered. Most important factor is what is not being delivered. How to keep that focus in mind and make sure that everybody understands this is what we are after, and this is a piece that we are not after. This is not what we are delivering. So making sure that everybody's aligned, is on the same page, you are communicating at the right points, at right inflection points, at right touch points, and making sure the leadership aligns to where you are going. Other teams that are critical pieces of the puzzle for this train to keep moving also understand what the dependencies are, what the timeline is, so that they can also align their resources to deliver what they need to. So over communication is extremely important, and communication skill overall is a very important skill set to develop as a product manager. Moving on, we get to the second bucket, that is tactical capabilities. And there are as important the strategic capabilities are. These are the tool sets that help you and set you up for success for the strategy that you are after. So going after the first tactical capability is analytics. This is your tool that you will use in every strategy in building that story. This product manager is a function of a storyteller. The means to bring people together is by being a storyteller, and how you become effective in telling your story is when you put data in your story, when you pull data from different sources, layer data over layer data, and make sure that there is a story that comes out of that data that you can tell to people that this is why you are doing this, this is the gap that exists, and this is how the trends are established, and this is how it is these datas reflect or justify what you're trying to say. So analytics is an important tool for your strategic vision, for your strategic progress. Better decision from less data. As a product manager, when you're starting out, you will not have data that conclusively tells you. A lot of times you will not have a lot of data that conclusively tells you which way to go. There will always be that gray area, and that is where you have to put your business skill has to kick in, and that will happen with experience over time. Is that when you take that less data and with experience you build a hypothesis of what to go after, what should be. I used to say you have to take decision to go after from that data, but then I strike through that decision and I said you cannot, because there is less data. You use your experience and you build hypothesis, and that's what you go after. You test it in the market, and then you see if that's working or not, and then you build another hypothesis based on new data and new experiences. Use data to understand your customer's pain point. Not only quantitative data, use qualitative data as well. Talk to the customer, again, because you cannot collect all kinds of data and have if you were to, data is everywhere, you can drown yourself in data, but you also have to understand what are those key data sets that you should be going after, and what are those data sets that will help you in the story or in the direction that you're trying to go. So it is very important to use data to understand the customer's pain point, and you can leverage data to understand your customer and their pain points. What and why of measurement and analysis. Data tells you what, and then you use analysis or to build a story of why or hypothesis of why. But it is first, it is what you can't measure, you can't improve. So first you have to find out or nail what you want to measure or what should be measured, and then you can build a hypothesis or why or analysis around it, that why you are seeing such trend, why is this happening, and then you can go and test that out in different ways. Moving on, another very important tactical tool for product manager is business case. Building that business case. Business case, as I was saying, is the customer should be your North Star. From tool perspective, business case becomes your North Star. You collect all this data, you make sure that you're strategically aligned to what your company's long-term vision and goals are. What does the business problem statement looks like? What is that bigger picture that business is trying to solve here? What are those? Nail your target audience. What is that core target audience looks like? A lot of times you can have that broader definition, the male 25 to 49 years old, but getting very specific, what does those personas look like? What are those people who day to day, what their pain points are? So getting very specifics of the target audience. Competition, how does the market lay of the land looks like? As a product manager, you have to become SME in the product that you are building. You have to become SME in your customer. You have to become SME in the competition. You are the person, you are the expert when it comes to that product and all aspects, and you have 360 view of that product. Even in your, if in your sleep somebody wakes you and asks you, like without even waking up, you should be able to answer that kind of, you should be living and breathing that product, and that comes from that business case. What is possible, what is expected, what is desired to be state. Work very closely with your business partners, with your customer, with your people who represent customer segment, with your leadership, to make sure that there is a very clear demarcation of what is possible and what is expected and what is that desired to be state, and how you are going after what at this time, and what does that long tail looks like. What does success look like? Define success. How are you going to measure success? Very important to find out, to think through that how you are going to measure success. What is that is going to define success for this product? Is this click-through rate? Is it download? Is it views? Is it, how are you going to define success for this? And then identifying these exec sponsors, business sponsors, steering committee members, core working team, and most importantly, influencers. When I was lead PM for this next generation pricing platform in Microsoft, and that's when I realized the importance of influencers. Those are the people who are closest. You as a product manager, depending upon the size of the company, may not be directly in touch with the customer, or may not, or even the smaller company may not be in touch with the customer, or are not the trusted advisors for the customer the way these influencers are. You have to identify who those influencers are, work very closely in building that product so that you are getting the voice of the customer in building that product, in what the feature sets you are defining, and then they become the champion that take that message back to the customer, so that they are the trusted advisors, they are the closest to the customer's ears, and they are bringing that message back to the customer. So it is very important, as you are defining those other members of the larger team, to define who those influencers are going to be, who are going to first help you in defining that message, and then also then take that message back to the customer. Product manager's toolbox has a lot of tools. You have to make sure that based on the product or the market that you are serving, what that market and customer research looks like. What are those research tools that you can utilize? What is that product roadmap? What are those different product roadmap that exist out there, and which are the ones that you can adapt and would be most useful for the kind of work that you're trying to deliver. What does prioritized feature list look like? What does MVP mean? And how can you bring MVP into the feature list that you are trying to deliver? What does delivery schedule looks like? What is that alpha, beta, GA is? And how that, given the, depending upon the market that you're trying to serve, what does that ring release looks like? So what is that core set of audience that you're going to go after, and how are you going to schedule your delivery releases one after the other? Dependency alignment, dependency on upstream, downstream systems, dependency on data sources, dependency on analytics team. There are a lot of dependency on sourcing the customer for you at. So a lot of there are dependencies that you need to manage, and make sure you think through all of this. Data and metric, what are those data sets that you need to source, and how are you going to measure success? What are those success criteria looks like? Readiness and landing, how are you thinking about landing the product that you are building? Excuse me. How are you going to, are you thinking about those facts, help sheets? How does your customer, would your customer have what they need to access your product, to download your product, to buy your product at the time when it is available for them? And how are you making that transition successful for those early adopters? Hypercare and ongoing support. As a product manager, it is not, as I was saying, that our focus should be, fixation should be on making our customer successful. So even though you may have built a good product that will make our customer successful, but if you do not plan this last bit of the product delivery, making sure that you have readiness and landing in line, and then the hypercare and ongoing support planned out, how are you going to provide that white glove treatment to the early adopters if they run into issues? Because more often than not, even though we may plan it to go one way, things will not go one way. So how are you thinking through those points of failures, and how are you planning for that? And then ongoing support. And then it also ties into feedback channel. How are you thinking about collecting all that feedback that is coming from the market, from the end user, and building that into your roadmap as you are thinking about new feature sets? What is your plan to think about these enhancements to current capabilities that are already out, and you are collecting feedback? So building all of that, all of this becomes the product manager's toolbox that are extremely important, and you use one or the other depending upon the phase that you are in. So it is important to bring yourself up to speed on these tools so that you know what to use, when to use, and how to use. How to bridge the gap from current role to product management. Product management is a function which touches so many different roles. It doesn't matter from what role you are coming in, because that outsider's perspective in is very important in product management. So in whatever role you are, you can be very successful in product management, because that you would be bringing that outsider's perspective in. But how do you bridge the gap as a new product manager, as an aspiring product manager? How do you bridge that gap so that you encounter very minimum issues? You would still encounter issues, but minimum issues as you are going through the process. So the secret sauce here is that I totally advise, and that I did for myself as well, is learning by doing. You should be thinking about building an app, a website, or a product. Find a need, look around yourself, create a business case for that. Establish what that business success criteria is going to be. How are you going to define success for that product? Start small. Think about that MVP. Think about the core capabilities that you can, like an app, just you click, there are bubbles coming, and you just keep clicking. You think that probably that would be fun for a particular age group, or for define your customer segment and target, and then build a product for them. And then you can continue to enhance that, whatever you build over a period of time. List issues and risks upfront. Go through that process. Think about it when you're thinking about that product, when you're thinking about your customer segment, when you're thinking about those key feature sets. Think about what those risks and issues are going to be when you think about actually building it. Build the delivery plan. What does that delivery plan look like? What are those phases of product development will be? And what are those risks and issues that you will encounter? And how are you going to mitigate those risks and issues as you build the delivery plan? Gather feedback. Get it out in the hands of your friends and family, or even like 5 people. Get it out to them. Gather feedback, and then go through that cycle yourself. Utilize free trials, templates, tools for product roadmap, for prioritization, all that exists. Use them, even if there are like just 5 features, but use those free tools and templates that exist. That will The journey is important than the destination. It is not important for you to build an extremely successful app, website, or a product, but this journey helps in getting to, I was just looking at the time. So that journey is extremely important, and that will, as you walk into these interviews for product manager, you can take this story with yourself, share with them your own story, your own journey, that how you built your own product, and that's what the journey will resonate with any and they would really appreciate the way that you went out of the way and build this to go, just experience what being up to put that product manager hat on. So how to think about strategic goal and business success criteria. Very important part, and and a lot of people from program management or other functions move to product management, but this is the key gap. This is one of the nuances of product management that they have learning curve on, that is very important to understand. Is business strategy. What is the business strategy? Business strategy is something that leaders of the company define using keeping the core values, competition, and industry trends in mind. Is that what our strategy should be? Where should we be going? What should we be focusing on? And what product manager builds, any service or any product, should align to that business strategy. Otherwise, that product manager even be questioning, why should I even be building this? It is important to know what strategy you align to, and then what are those KPIs that you can establish that is going to measure the success of that product or service, because that is going to define how strategically aligned that product or service is. And what cannot be measured, that cannot be cannot be improved. So it is extremely important to continue to measure whatever you are building and understand the strategic alignment, and then the KPI that is going to measure that strategic alignment, so that you can continue to improve your product. So when I was business value realization lead at Microsoft, for our group, that's what I taught to our business partners, to our internal teams, is the KPI should be specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time bound. Those are the 5 key features of establishing a key KPI. And I'll give you an example. I just cruise through. So this is a program example. Program is a Madagascar. The strategy or the strategy for the company, for an example company here, is operational excellence. They want to be operationally delivering efficient systems and solutions, so that their teams can be efficient in the work that they're doing. So KPI is maintenance cost reduction, that aligns to business strategy. That is something operational excellence. That it is measurable, consolidation of budgeting and planning platform. That's something that you can measure. There is a baseline and target identified, and then there is a measurement plan. How are you going to measure this KPI? So this is how you build a KPI in your business plan, in your business case, is that there is this KPI, this aligns to the strategy, this is how we are going to measure it, there is a baseline, and this is how the target looks like. The last piece of our agenda, and we are almost running out of time, so I want to be sensitive to the time as well. What makes a successful product manager? There is no secret sauce here. This is something that I just went through, but it is just refocusing, regrouping, bringing us all together, and focusing on what are those key aspects of the successful product manager. So this is the maturity tree. Hustler. You have to be, as a product manager, you have to hustle. You do not have the liberty, or you do not have the liberty to sit and wait on something. There you are on a tight timeline, you're working with multiple teams, and it is something that is very important to you, may not be as important in current scheme of things to a lot of other teams. So you have to hustle, you have to make sure that you bring this in front, right, and center of other people. So it is important for you to be a hustler. Scrappy. As a product manager, big company or small company, you will not at any given of time have all the resources that you need. You will not have everything that you need to build a successful plan, or the delivery or the readiness and landing. So you have to learn to be scrappy. How can you be creative? How can you make things work? How can you go around and then work on probably a break fix for a short time or work around, and then get together a core or longer term plan as needed basis. So you have to be thinking creatively and be scrappy about it. Curious. It's very important to ask question, asking right question, asking multiple question. That is how you will become SME. It is because you are expected to be a SME. So it is important for you to be very curious all the time, asking questions. And then more often than that and not, you will see that the questions that you ask are always the question that other people always have. So never shy away from asking questions. Open mind. As I was saying earlier, it is very important as a product manager to keep an open mind, because you will have to pivot, shift, and that agility is going to be important, so that you are taking everything in a very positive way. As a product manager, sometimes it becomes very emotional bond as well. That is why I emphasize on this, that it is important for the successful. So that is why it is important to build that emotional bond, not with your product, but building that emotional bond with your customer. Is that what you are doing, or the decision you're taking is for the customer and not for this product? Because the main goal, that your north star is making that customer successful. Building credibility, building trust with the team. You are working with so many teams, and leader without authority, the only way you can make things work is building credibility among different team, among different people. That would mean you have to go out of the way to do or work hard, work to build that credibility, or have somebody's back a lot of times. But that is important, because that's what will be very helpful long term. Stay focused. As it is important to keep an open mind, learn different point of views, and be agile at the same time. How do you keep, it's a very thin ice that you walk on, that how do you continue to stay focused, yet at the same time keep that open mind, and then ability to shift and pivot as needed basis. Risk taker. As I was saying, you will not always have all the questions answered in black and white. There will be a lot of times gray areas, because you are trying to go quickly, so you have to take calculated risks as well, and you have to be ready for that. Learn something new. Always maybe partner with your UX designer and just learn. Just sit down, have a coffee, or just have 1 hour session with how are they doing, or partner somebody in analytics team. Like, what do they look for? How do they draw data? And how do they build story? So continue to learn something more. It comes very, not necessarily that you're going to take, not that you're going to take away their job, but it just helps you when you put that hat on, or when you're thinking about it. So continue to learn something new from different jobs and different aspects. That will be very helpful. Giving back to community. So giving back to community, in my sense, is as a lot of work that I do, is sharing from my experience to the people. I seek a lot of guidance from my mentors. They are very helpful when I feel lost, or when I feel what should I be doing in particular circumstances when the going gets tough, and they guide me in what's the best approach can be. And so that's what I mean by giving back to community, that as you seek mentors from other people around you, and you seek leadership and guidance from them, give back to people. Do mentor people. When they ask questions, it clears out a lot of things in your mind as well, and it helps me a lot, and I'm sure it will help you a lot too. It just keeps you focused in what that greater good is like, if you do that mentorship. So okay, let me go back for a very quick second. So be patient, continue to do the right things, and you will see yourself maturing over time. It will not happen overnight. Product management is a role that people continue to grow, and I, even after almost 13 years in my experience, I learn everything, something new every day. So you'll continue to mature, but at least you will see yourself maturing over time, and that gives you confidence to take on new, bigger products. So the takeaway is product management, AKA, is a superhero's role. Be tenacious, fight for your customer, and enjoy the ride. Those are the key. Make sure that, yes, you have to continue to be tenacious, fight for your customer, and enjoy the ride. The reason I repeated it one more time is because it is extremely important to keep that in mind. The tenaciousness is very important. Fighting for the customer is very important. And then having fun along the ride, so that it doesn't bother you, and you build that experience over time. Another takeaway is that you build a plan one way. Know that things will not go as you are planning, but that keeps you on your toes. That makes you check your ability. That also something to reflect on that is how the maturity happens. That is how experience happens. That is how you grow. So as much you plan, don't ding yourself if something doesn't go right the way you have planned, because it will not. But that is your opportunity to grow, to mature, to reflect, and see what you can do in future differently, that you are not in that situation again. With that, thank you so much. My name is Richa Rai, and my email address is right here.
Yay, thank you so much, Richa. That was amazing. And way to fit a 2-hour thing into 30 minutes. As
I
you said, you
know.
usually speak and do so much more in so much more space. So yeah, we
Yes.
definitely, I think our community would love to have you back. We had over 120 people join us today. So that's a really good amount. And there's been a lot of thumbs up and interactions. And thank you, Richa, and all these things.
Awesome.
So yeah, we also have, thanks, Richa, for showing how you put your give back to community philosophy into action. So let's see, there's a lot of good questions today. Some of them are more generic, so maybe we can touch on those quickly. We'll do about another 5-10 minutes or so of Q&A for whoever wants to stay. Really quick before we do Q&A, I just want to let everyone know our little outro about Product School. So just to get more info on our courses and upcoming events at Product School, just go to productschool.com. We have 14 locations around the world. And if you're located near one of our campuses, just make sure you stop by for one of our weekly events. We usually do events Wednesday, Thursday nights. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, and just look up Product School. You'll find us there. Okay, so let's see. This is a question that I think a lot of people misconstrue, and I think there's a lot of overlap. But let's see, it says, how different are product owner and product manager roles? And you see that often, and it's kind of, my understanding is you have to be the product owner as the product manager, take it as you are owning. So is it pretty much the same thing? Or
product manager, so it depends upon the companies. A lot of, so this is the subsets of product management is now becoming more and more as people are realizing that how important the product manager role is, and then now they are getting into the details of product management and then defining the subsets of product management. But I think product in the world that I live in, and again, it is very different the way a product manager is defined in any company or the product owner is defined in any company. That is why it's hard to answer this question, because it depends upon the company and how they define that role. But to me, and in the world that I live in, product owners are the people who, a product manager defines the overall strategic vision of the product. Where are we trying to go? What that long-term roadmap looks like, and what that high-level feature set looks like. But product owner partners is almost like a business analyst, and also sits side by side with functional analyst, and then details down on the user stories. What are those personas and user stories, and then what that details look like.
So it just depends
the big
on
picture.
The company.
But it depends upon the company. Yes.
Okay, so Dev says, great job, Richa. The soft skills you've highlighted are my weaknesses, and you've helped me manage my personal bottlenecks. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, so Emily asks, what are some strategies for a successful focus group?
Successful focus groups. There are a lot of tools that exist out there that you can use. But for successful focus groups, the trend that I'm seeing, and I see that is very valuable in the way I do it, is I take Post-it notes, I take markers, and then there are no laptops, there are no electronic devices allowed, and then it is just the focus group is for that focus group. And then we use that colorful Post-it notes and markers, and then define those Post-it notes for one particular use case and for this. And then people come up with their ideas, and then we group them together, and we go walk to the whiteboard and do all of that, which I understand if we are in a larger company and geographically diverse locations, that can be a little bit harder. But in Microsoft world too, for sessions like these, where we were defining these core we were having focus groups or workshops for defining our roadmap or for key feature lists. People would fly in. They would fly people in from all parts of the world to be together in that room because that is important. And then people can go off and then they can be doing their own thing. But for that those focus groups, it is important for people to come together. So that is what I have seen works really best, at least in my world and in my case.
Amazing. Yes, I agree. And there's so much value in just having, in-person tangibility,
Yes.
shaking someone's hands, feeling it real, just being in that mix, soaking up the energy of the room. Handel Sindra asks, what is a good balance between collect data and start to validate an MVP?
So collect data and start to validate MVP. Um, Again, you use your business kind of skill here a little bit, going by how you have updated yourself on your customer, how you have updated yourself on the market, doing the market research, and then the competition. And then you take this data and then you build MVP, is what is out there, what our customer is looking for, and what this data is saying. And then bring that all of those data points together to build that story, and then think about what my MVP should look like based on the resources that I have and the timeline that I have. So it's a combination of that is why it becomes hard, because you have to bring in, like, it's a bit funnel, right? So you put all of this up at the top, and then and the bottom, what gets out is MVP. But then you have to bring all of this together, not just data, but also all the research and all the data that exists out there, and then your resources and timeline that you have, bringing all together and then coming to that MVP.
Amazing. Oh, okay. We'll do a few more. Okay, so Shristi asks, as a new joiner and the person with the least experience on a team, what are some ways I can build credibility and a strong, trustful foundation with my team?
Definitely. And this is how I do it. I schedule when I am new member on any team, and I'm new to the team, I'm new to the company, or if anybody new has come into the company, I schedule meet and greet with them. I schedule half an hour with them, go to them, talk to them about my experience, talk to them how we can leverage each and other's experiences in future, how I can help them out if they are new to the company, what resources can I provide, how I can bring them up to speed, if they are looking for some data that I can provide to them, or kind of just provide them some information that would help them ramp up. Or if I am new to the company and I schedule these meet and greets, and and I gather information about that person up front, and I think about it like, what does that person do, and how that a person's experience is going to be helpful to me, so that I can make this conversation meaningful, and I can ask right questions, so that kind of seeking that opportunity as a little bit mentorship opportunity, is that, like, I'm new to this company, I'm looking for these resources, and people really like that you have gone out of the way and taken out time, and they get to know you. And that is the best way, actually, I think, to build trust in any company with people around you.
I think so too. Just showing face, letting them know who you
Yes.
are, and over time, the trust will be built. It
Yes,
doesn't
and
happen
also,
overnight. Yes.
yeah, and talk to them about your experiences too, like from where
Yeah.
you're coming, because the little blurb or the welcome mail that company sends out doesn't tell it, just words, but when you put a face to it, people kind of
Yeah.
start to connect with you at a
Yeah.
personal level, which is great.
Yes. Okay. I like this question. Lokesh asks, what is one book every aspiring PM must read at least once? I can answer at least one of those. Our CEO wrote a book. It's the Product School book, so you can see it on our website. But what I would be curious to see, what are, one or two of your top books that have helped you on
Yes.
your path, whether they're product related or not, whatever you think
No,
relevant.
yes, definitely. So there are a couple of books. So what I go after is Khosla Ventures has a lead reading list. So Khosla Ventures is a funding or seed funding firm, and they have a reading list of books. And I always go off of the books that they have. Extremely good recommendation on books that on UX, on goals, on success metric, on like the diverse topics and business topics that every product manager should be going and reading them. The one that I'm reading right now is Scores Will Take Care of Itself. So it has been done by it has been written by a football coach instructor who was for NFL San Francisco 49ers. And he gave a lot of leadership coaching sessions in all these big businesses, Fortune 500 companies. And he talked about that. What are those? Just the way he was a coach, and he brought these principles together to turn that team around. That team was going through a very bad time and rough time, and when he became coach, and how he instituted those right practices that are important, that will get the scores to take care of itself. That's what he always said, that do the right things and scores will take care of itself. You don't have to worry about scoring, just continue to do that right thing over and over again. So that's what that book is about, and I'm loving it. So go and check it out, read that book, or yeah, that
I
is
love
that,
it. I think that's relevant for any team member, period.
any
Just
team
that
member.
team mentality, keeping that fresh
Yes,
and seeing that end goal. And yeah, no, let the score land where it lands. Totally.
exactly.
So last question. We have so many good questions today, but I like Priti asks, very nice session, and you've gotten a lot of that. Everyone loves you. So could you let us know some free tools and templates to build an idea, and how can I utilize that to help move to a product management role?
Definitely.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so she can send me an email. So, Preeti, I would encourage you to send me an email, and I will send you a list of some links to some of the tools that exist. AHA has some, and there are some other tools that exist. I'm sure Product School website might have some links as well for some of those tools. So I will send you those. I have some links that I can share.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I wish we could have you every day or for like a few hours a day. It's so amazing. You're a wealth of
Thank you.
information, and I
Thank
hope to
you.
have you back. And
Definitely.
one thing that we were talking about, me and Richa were talking about before the session, was maybe she could come back and do just an exercise dense webinar. So if you all are interested in that, give us a few more thumbs up and we'll try and get that cooking for you.
Definitely. And some ideas too, right? They can leave their comments or ideas and write to you, or yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Bravo. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
And
thank
we'll talk
you.
to you soon.
Thanks to
Take
Product School
care.
for having me, and thank you so much, you guys. You guys rock, and keep taking charge. And you guys are here taking time out of your day-to-day schedule to be here. That shows that you take charge and you lead. And thumbs up for that, and continue to do that.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Over
Ciao.
and out. Yes. Bye.